Hey, what's happening, everybody? Robert Phoenix here, broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas, on the aftermath of the most boring fucking Super Bowl in modern history. Modern history being probably anything after 1996, to be honest with you. There are a lot of people who claim that the most boring Super Bowl ever might have been the San Francisco 49ers versus the San Diego Chargers in 1994, where the game was over by halftime. But I'm a Niner fan, so that wasn't too boring to me. Yesterday, though, set new records for lack of offensive input. Although that doesn't include the halftime show, which, while not offensive, clearly was tepid. But there is, of course, there's some Illuminati symbolism going on in the halftime show, which I'll get into a little bit. By the way, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the live experience. We'll be streaming here for the next 20 minutes, breaking it down for you. But before I get into the Super Bowl and my thoughts on the Super Bowl and the symbolism of the Super Bowl, I want to return to Friday's show where Steve and Chris and myself got into a very heavy topic, which was near birth or after birth abortions, which seems to be right at the top of the political agenda on the left-hand side of the ledger sheet. And we broke down what happened in New York City, and it happened. It's real, and people are actually starting to use it now. Apparently, there's a woman who is claiming that she's suffering from depression and wants to get out of the birth of her child, and apparently there's some money involved in it for her as well. So we're going to hear more and more stories about this taking place in New York City. And it's going to make your toes curl. And I just wonder how much of an impact this is going to have on New York City's tourist trade. Are people going to go and support New York? I mean, I don't know. It's a very interesting subject. Quite frankly, Governor Cuomo probably doesn't give a shit. You know, this is a guy that's thoroughly invested in being reelected. He knows where his base is. And his base is absolutely and utterly debased. So he's in it for the short term. When I mean the short term, I'm talking about this lifetime. Clearly, he's got no investment in his soul, because if he did, number one, he probably would be governor of New York. And number two, he certainly wouldn't be rubber stamping and then foot stomping and applauding a decision that took place 2 weeks ago in the state of New York, legalizing abortion up to the time of birth. Well, let's switch our attention to Virginia, where Governor Ralph Northam was pitching. He was making a case. Good old Ralph. Good old Southern genteel Ralph. You know, of course, when he was asked about how it was going to go down, you know, he had that real gentle kind of Southern patrician kind of way about him, which was, we're going to make sure that the mom's comfortable. And, you know, the baby's comfortable too. And if we have to, we'll resuscitate the child. And we'll make a decision based on that. We certainly don't want to interfere with a woman's right to choose. Right? This is what he was spouting off in that radio interview. And the looks on the faces of the women that he was actually talking with, they were perplexed in a lot of ways. Like on the one hand, talk about cognitive dissonance. On the one hand, they're thinking, well, I know I really should support this because this is like a thing. You know, we get to have this thing. It's called our bodies. And we get to make a choice from this place, and nobody can ever take that away. And then the reality sets in about really what this is all about. Like, you're going to deliver a baby. That baby's going to come out. And it's going to be staring at you. And then you're going to look at that baby. Somebody's going to look at that baby and said, sorry, you know, you got to go. I know. It's a rough ride, short, but trust me, we're doing you a favor. Things are going to get heavy here. You don't want to be around for it. Just take my word for it. You know, go be some facial cream somewhere. I mean, look. You should have seen the look in these women's faces. They were torn up. They were like very conflicted. And even the woman, Annie Tran, as she sat there and tried to answer the questions, there was a moment where even she was conflicted. I mean, how could you not be conflicted? And I'm sorry, I get it. A woman has a right to choose. right? This is the law of the land. But how could you not be conflicted in a moment like that, especially if you've had a child and know what that's about? And if you don't know what it's about, there's something innately feminine about that whole process. So what happened to Ralph Northam? Well, just mere hours after we talked about this clown, comes out that Mr. Northam has a yearbook photo where he's either dressed up in blackface or he's wearing a KKK hood. Either one, it's not a good look. Now, what's behind all of this? There's a thing called opposition research. And opposition research is something that's done by one candidate, and really it's about digging up dirt. You're going in there and you're trying to find shit on somebody else. That's what opposition research is. Maybe it's like, well, he trends towards this demographic and he trends towards this income bracket, and and blah 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 blah, and his decisions have been more on the conservative side over the past 10 years. He's not into fiscal. I mean, that's kind of opposition research. But another level is, let's roll up our sleeves and let's find out, where the crap is on this person, so that if we need to, bring it out in the debate or, put out an ad in the paper, we got him. We got something. They have to defend that versus defend his political position, put him on his heels. That's politics. Politics is like a cage match. It's a total cage match. And that's why MMA fighting has become like, okay, boxing, most sports, fixed. I'm going to get into the Patriots and the Rams and the fixed portion after I offload this stuff. But if you go back and you look at boxing was a metaphor for a specific time. Boxing is no longer popular. It doesn't have the same kind of cachet that it once had. At one point in time, there were immigrant groups that came to America, Italians, the Irish. Of course, you have Black Americans, and then later you had, the Hispanic community coming into places like Los Angeles, and you fought your way up. I mean, you came to this country fighting, scratching, clawing, and the boxing arena was a metaphor for that. It was how a community essentially kind of grabbed a toehold, or at least part of a community, right? And in the ring, which is an interesting kind of thing unto itself, because a boxing ring is not a ring; it's a square, right? So you're squaring the circle, which is an alchemical thing, but that's another discussion anyway. But in the ring, there are rules, and the rules basically stem from the rules of engagement in a conflict between one man and the other, and these are the Marquise of Queensberry rules, right? The Marquise of Queensberry, which was the rules around fighting, and a lot of those rules were transposed into the ring. You couldn't do certain things. You couldn't hit below the belt, right? There was no kicking. There was no shoving. It was, fisticuffs, right? That's what it was. Well, guess what? Those rules are gone. So if you look at boxing for a particular point in time, it was kind of a metaphor for things in our culture and our society. There was a semblance of rules. There was a semblance of order. And yes, boxing was fixed and shit went on in the ring. And we all know this, but it was within certain bounds, right? Within certain bounds. You couldn't like throw somebody on their back and then do an elbow strike to their third eye. That didn't happen. Well, now it does. Right now we have these cage matches, we have the octagon, we have the MMA stuff where anything goes. Anything goes. And it's displaced boxing as a popular form of as a pugilistic pastime. And we can transpose that onto other areas of our culture and our society. It can be politics. It can be relationships. It can be whatever. Anything goes now, pretty much. It's like the limits are off. I don't think you can bite somebody's ear off in MMA, although who knows, maybe in the future that'll be included too. And the other thing about boxing, it was just men, right? It was just men. The first female boxer to really come along and kind of change it up was Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter. It's like, oh, women are boxing? Oh, interesting. Well, MMA world, women are, they're just as active as the men, just as popular as the men in some ways, right? So now we have this commingling of the masculine and the feminine inside the octagon. And again, that's another sort of metaphor for our time. there's almost a kind of trans aggression movement inside the MMA world. Anyway, so now politics is like that. Politics is anything happens. Anything can happen. And there's even less limitations than there were before. You can say shit now, and it doesn't even have to be true, as long as it gets out there, because we're not playing by the Marquise of Queensberry rules, right? That's not happening. So the opposition research failed to turn something up. You know that these guys pay money to find dirt. Well, why is that? Well, it's probably because they couldn't find that yearbook. But somebody had that yearbook. Somebody in the know had that yearbook. And there was a time where they were going to use that yearbook setting to detonate Ralph Northam. And Friday was that time. And I'm on the record that it was the left, his own party, that did that. Because what happened is it changed the narrative and it changed the dialogue from Ralph Northam is a baby killer. He's a hired assassin by the Democratic Party. And if you're not careful, there's going to be a whole country of Ralph Northams at the governorship level. And they're going to rubber stamp infanticide. Because that would have been the popular kind of take from that. Now all of a sudden we're talking about Ralph Northam as a racist. Ralph Northam as a KKK member. Ralph Northam as doing blackface. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but CNN, it's out there. You can find it. Just look on the internet. CNN had this image of Ralph Northam. And down in the bottom of the corner, it said Republican. CNN rebranded Ralph Northam as a Republican. So not only is he now a racist, but he's got to be a Republican too. Mind-blowing shit, right? This is the reality that we're playing it now. Nothing is real. Nothing is real. Ralph Northam, is he really Democrat? No, now he's a Republican. Is he blackface? Well, I wasn't blackface, or I was one of those people, and I really, 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 I regret it. We do things in our youth, and, I'm just going to, fall on the sword. And 2 days later, oh, shoot, that wasn't me. Now that I think about it, I don't know. That's not me. Can you prove that's me? There's a blackface there, and there's, and I don't know, Coon Man? I don't know who gave me that nickname. Yeah. My name isn't even Ralph. My name is Richard. Don't you know that? I'm not even a man. I'm a woman. And I'm not even white. I'm Hispanic. I mean, that should have been his defense. That I'm no longer a member of the white race. I'm now identified as being Hispanic. I've been identified as being Hispanic for the last 2 years. And I've just decided to come public with my Hispanicness. So this is what's going on, right? And now we're not talking about the infanticide. We're talking about this racist cracker living down in Virginia. What's interesting about him is he decided when he was going up against this guy Gillespie, he was the governor running against for governor. He went after Gillespie because Gillespie allowed the Charlottesville rally to happen. Oh boy, he made all kinds of ads about Gillespie being a racist, being a KKK guy, towing bodies, behind cars. I mean, come on now, Ralph. Things have kind of changed in Ralph Northam's world just a little bit, just a tad. Be interesting to see what happens. I doubt if he actually steps down, because this is not what, people just, there's no consequences anymore. There's none. There's absolutely none. I mean, it's getting to the point now where if you're in a particular group, you could probably kill somebody right in front of a camera and get away with it. Say, well, he was under stress. He was transitioning. He was just under way too much stress. Shit happens all the time. All right. So speaking of transitioning, I'm talking about the Super Bowl. That was your little Ralph Northam. Who did it? Who dumped the yearbook photo? I'm saying it's his own party, right? That was a poison pill he had to swallow. Oh, by the way, he also said, before I transitioned to the Super Bowl, he also said that while that may not have been him, he did one time dress up as Michael Jackson at a party, and he did put some blackface on at that party. I have never put blackface on. I've never understood the appeal of Blackface. It's just like, really? Why? It's just bizarre. I guess you have to be, I don't know, born in a certain part of the country or having sex with Whoopi Goldberg to get it. Remember when Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg did their blackface routine? Oh my God, it was so embarrassing. It was at a roast. It was at one of those Friars Club roasts. All right, let's talk about the Super Bowl. Patriots versus the Rams. The Rams, aka Baphomet, squaring off against Tom Brady, the New England Patriots, owned by Robert Kraft, a good friend of our friends over in the Middle East, of course. I think he has, like, I don't know, some kind of a Hall of Fame named after him or something in Israel. Let's just say Bob Kraft is connected. Although I told the story before, he visited Putin one time. I think it was after the first or second Super Bowl they won. And he showed Putin his Super Bowl ring and he took it off and he showed it to him. And Putin put it on his finger and he never gave it back. I thought, wow, man, that's a power move right there. He took his Super Bowl ring, right? That's power. Anyway, so the Patriots won. Imagine that. It was one of the most boring Super Bowls of all time. Two teams who were lighting it up offensively throughout the season, two of the highest scoring offenses in football. And they basically laid a big brown steaming turd in the middle of Atlanta's brand new stadium. No touchdowns before halftime, only one touchdown the entire game. Now, a case could be made that, well, that's just good old defensive football. That's the way it used to be played before they changed the rules. There are people who actually like to watch that shit. Personally, I don't. Because when you watch that stuff, it gets boring, really boring. You may say football's boring anyway. Yeah, you could probably kiss for that too. But if you're going to watch time, you're going to want to see people do things, right? It's not about, oh my God, did you see that? Did you see that trap block that allowed the running back to get those 6 yards? Look, I grew up with that shit. I watched football in the 70s. It was boring. And that was 1970s, 1960s style football. But there's something else going on here with that Super Bowl. Now, I actually looked at the astrology for the game, and I was trying to figure out where it was going to go. The thing that struck me was the oppositions that were taking place. Jared Goff was going up against Bill Belichick. Aries, Libra. Goff is a Libra, Belichick's an Aries. Belichick won that. He won that dynamic. Sean McVay, Aquarius, was going up against Tom Brady, Leo. That was kind of a wash because Brady did not have a great game. I mean, statistically, it was not a great game. Julian Edelman was the MVP of the game. So we had these oppositions going on. And Sean McVay has a history of being very creative, really creative, outside the box. He had a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Sagittarius going on. And that was the most boring game plan I've ever seen. This is a guy who's the boy genius and the savant, and he didn't take anything out of his bag of tricks. Nothing. And I've seen him play against other teams where it was like I was watching a college team play against the Rams. And yesterday, the Rams were the college team. All right. So I thought about this. I thought about like the fix, because this is one of the things that we've been talking about for a long time in pro sports. Was the fix in? And I'm going to give you just a bit of an example here of what I would call the long fix. Okay. So when the Kansas City Chiefs were rocking and rolling, they had a supersonic offense. There was a guy that played for them by the name of Kareem Hunt, and he was a running back, and Kareem Hunt was right at the top of the league. There were two running backs who were crushing the league. One was Kareem Hunt, and the other played for the Rams, Todd Gurley. Okay. At one point during the season, right after game 11, there was a tape that TMZ had uncovered about Kareem Hunt getting into it with a woman at a hotel in Cleveland. This tape had been around for a year. Okay. The NFL had known about this case. The Kansas City Chiefs had known about this case. They'd interviewed Kareem Hunt. Then mysteriously, as the Chiefs are just steamrolling everybody, the tape appears. Why? How did that tape appear? Well, first of all, the tape was in possession of the hotel. So somebody at the hotel had to leak that tape to TMZ. And how do you do that? Money. How did TMZ know about the video? Somebody with access to the league and the league's investigation knew about that tape. Okay. Which team in the NFL, and this is not sour grapes, I'm just doing a connect the dots here. Which team in the NFL has a history of cheating? It's the Patriots. It's the Patriots. From Spygate to Deflategate, the Patriots have a known history of, how shall we say, playing fast and loose with the rules. So if you're the Patriots, and maybe Bob Kraft, you sit back and you look around and say, well, who do we have to play against and probably go through to win this thing? Probably gonna be the Kansas City Chiefs. How can we make the Chiefs a little bit weaker? Oh yeah, there's that Kareem Hunt tape. Maybe I should throw some cash at TMZ. Pop for that tape. Sure enough, the tape pops up. Less than a week before it pops up, Kareem Hunt is gone. One of the best players in the National Football League gone. The Chiefs were good, but they were not the same team. He would have been a difference maker against the New England Patriots. Trust me. I study football. I know football inside and out. Let's go over to the other side of the ledger sheet. Todd Gurley. Right after week 11, Todd Gurley began to disappear. He had some problems with his knee, maybe, I think, perhaps. And there was one game. After the game, I saw a video of Todd Gurley at a house party up in the hills, up in the Los Angeles hills. He was wearing it was like wearing some kind of toga robe or something. Todd Gurley didn't look like he was feeling too much pain at that party. Let me tell you. Anyway, Todd Gurley is one of the best running backs in football. Explosive, catching the ball, running the ball. This guy was a dynamo, right? He was unstoppable. He was on his way to breaking the LaDainian Tomlinson's all-time NFL touchdown record in a season. And what happens? Mysteriously, as the Rams begin to enter the playoffs, they begin to shut him down. He has one good game. He looked great against the Dallas Cowboys, but they begin to shut him down. And people keep asking, well, where's Todd Gurley? Where's Todd Gurley? Why isn't Todd Gurley playing? And the press conferences, they'd ask Todd, well, how's your knee? Oh, it's fine. I'm healthy. I'm healthy. My knee's healthy. Okay, so there's two things here. Two things. Number one, if his knee isn't healthy, like they need to report that because that's going to affect the betting line, right? So they went into, they being the bookies in Vegas, they go into that game yesterday with a healthy Todd Gurley, they make the line. If Todd Gurley's hurt, that line's different. That line's 5, maybe 6 points, possibly 7. He's a game changer. That's Todd Gurley. But of course, the knee's healthy. So if the knee's healthy, then why isn't he playing? Why isn't the most explosive player in the NFL outside of maybe, well, on the other side, running back, maybe Kareem Hunt? Why isn't he playing? And how did the Los Angeles Rams get into the Super Bowl anyway? It was on a controversial call, a controversial non-call, which everybody realizes should have been a penalty. 2 times, not once, but 2 times a penalty. Blow to the head and pass interference. And if the New Orleans Saints get that, they are in the Super Bowl. And I guarantee you, that's a different game. It's a different game strategically, number one. And number two, I think the Patriots would have had a harder time with the Saints, who had the best record in the NFC, home field advantage, right? So we saw that the Saints were summarily eliminated from any kind of opportunity to play against the Patriots. Over on the other side, there were a number of very strange and very subjective calls. Some of them went both ways. Clearly, there were a few against the Chiefs that were potential game killers. And even in yesterday's game, the one play that displayed Todd Gurley's explosiveness took place in the 4th quarter. And he was given the ball. He went to the left side. He cut left and he broke up field and he got a 25-yard gain. First down. Of course, there's the flag, right? And they called holding on the center. And they went back and they looked at that play and it was like, you got to be kidding me. There's no fucking holding there. And shit happens all the time. It's the holding, penalty, and pass interference are the 2 plays in pro football that they can tilt the game either way because they're happening all the time. All the time. You watch these receivers and these defensive backs, defensive backs are mugging the receivers all the time. And it's only called when they want to enforce the rule to move the energy in the direction of the game. That penalty against Todd Gurley was a game changer. It was a total game changer. And what happened to Todd Gurley? He went back to the sideline and he wasn't seen again. I checked my went to the store this morning to go get some coffee and some milk, and I checked on the milk carton to see if Todd Gurley's picture was on it, and it wasn't. So apparently he's still okay. He's out there somewhere. And then you have Sean McVay, the Wunderkind, the genius, right? And what is he doing? He's calling up plays that are like, he's telegraphing everything to Bill Belichick. They didn't have to do anything. Something was really weird about that game. And then there's the halftime show with Maroon 5. Now, some of the symbolism seems to suggest or support the fact that we're going to be hit with asteroids, and that really what the elites were broadcasting to us was that Nibiru is coming, right? That was supposed to be the Planet X halftime show. And maybe this whole thing with, Maroon 5, being marooned, deserted. And what's the number 5? Number 5 is hard. That's a hard number. When you look at the major arcana, you look at the minor arcana and tarot, all the 5s suck. They're tough cards, man. Worry, loss, they're tough cards. And so what are we talking about? We got the sun, Mercury, Venus, right? Earth, and the 5th, theoretically, right? I guess we throw the moon in there. Let's play this game. Got the sun, Mercury, Venus, moon. What's the 5th? It's Earth, right? It's Earth. And that's really how it goes down. It's not, I'm talking astrologically, not astronomically. Sun, right? Number 1, Mercury right after that, Venus right after that, the moon right after that, then there's the Earth, and then there's Mars. So Earth is 5. So Maroon 5. Was there a reason why they chose Maroon 5? Was there a symbolic meaning to it? It's like, is it Earth marooned as the asteroids come in? Because that's what happened. If you watch the halftime show, these fireballs start coming in and hitting the stadium there in Atlanta. And then Travis Scott, comes down on a fireball, a flaming fallen angel descended from the sky. That's the symbolism for Travis Scott. And he's out there, right? He's doing his thing. And if you look around him, he's sitting in this kind of metallic sun. So he's illuminated. Travis Scott is illuminated. That's right. It was another illumination ritual. They were telling you, right? They were telling you. But then it was really interesting. Big Boy comes out. And I love me some Outcast. Big Boy, Andre 3000. They're great. Big Boy's an Aquarius. He comes out with his crew, the Atlians, which is the aliens from Atlanta, right? So now we got a whole other kind of sub-theme. And then there's Adam Levine, who actually knelt at one point during the halftime performance. I don't know if you caught that or not. He got on one knee. It's like, yeah, I'm down, man. I'm kneeling down. Right on. Right? So he had his little moment. And of course, he had to take off his shirt. The guy has the ugliest fucking tattoos I've ever seen. I mean, they're awful. But I did notice that right on his left hip, he had a very prominently placed butterfly. Right? You think that's a little like monarch programming, perhaps? You think? Maybe all of a sudden, he's dealing with a woman who's under some kind of monarch programming, and all of a sudden he takes that shirt off, and it's right there on the way to his crotch. It's butterfly land. Yeah, I noticed that. It's on the left side. He's also got a big California thing. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there right now is deconstructing Adam Levine's tattoos, and it's a script for what's going to happen. And they may be right. There's clearly some interesting stuff, at least from that perspective, not in his body. I can't think of a more plastic and kind of preset pop idol than Adam Levine. It kind of makes me miss Mick Jagger, even though Mick Jagger is one of the most evil people on the planet. At least he was a fucking rock star. I don't know what this guy is at all. All right. You know what I'm going to do? I just want to check in with the chat room here before I sign off. Let me just see, because I have to go to another window in order to do that. So I just want to acknowledge you guys. I'll be talking to my my people today about the new interface that's going to happen today. At least I'm going to talk, get this thing rolling and in motion. So let me check with you guys, see what's happening. We've got 51 people. Hold on one second here. All right. Waiting for the. We checked with you. Okay. What do we got? Have a good day. Oh, there's Ani. There's Edgardo. Edgardo says numerology 5 represents change. Yes, indeed. Let's see. I'm late. We'll stand in Corbett. Pointing hat. What's the references? SpongeBob tattooed in the Super Bowl. Yeah, the SpongeBob thing was weird, huh? It was very strange. Very, very strange. Though Hispanic is an ethnicity, not a race. Look, I don't claim to be an expert, right? So I said Latino, I've gotten busted for that. I said Hispanic, got busted for that. You know, I don't claim to be a yeah, anyway. I'm glad some people in the chat room, Ani in particular, can break that down for us. All right. I think that's it. Hi, Beth. Good morning. Rhonda, nice to see you. There's Joe. Good morning. There's Shari. Hello, Shari. And SKP Cook. Good morning to you. Joe says the whole thing is despicable and nauseating. I think she's referring to the Ralph Northam affair. Where's the opposition research for Nancy Pelosi and a few others I can mention? What about the Michael Jackson moonwalk? He almost broke out to the dance at the press. Yeah, it was close, right? Let's see. Hi from Albuquerque. Uniform is real good. Oh, okay. Tim is now Burka Naburu. I love that. That's great. Paula said, my husband actually slept through the second half. Game was boring. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Luann. Nice to see you. Yep, today's the new moon in Aquarius. Good day to start something new technologically. Right on. Get some upgrades. The great thing about Aquarian new moon is that you don't have to attach to things, right? You can kind of like observe from a higher perspective, so to speak, right? All right, hey, thank you for showing up. I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll do this dance again. Now remember, use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. You've been watching 15 Minutes of Flame.